If you are new, begin with Chapter 1. This is Tuesday, Gray's diary. I am only the reader. Hollowshade keeps a strict ledger on those who skip ahead and the interest compounds. Chapter 7. The photo that should not exist. Morning pretends to be gentle at Hollowshade. It fails quickly. The sky lifts a pale blue veil for 5 minutes. Then Gray returns with the punctuality of a tax collector. I was meant for arithmetic, but the corridors had an opinion about that. At the top of the east stair, a door I knew yesterday had been skimmed with new plaster. No seam, no knob. A memory rubbed flat. The bell scolded me once and then again, as if repetition could correct architecture. I turned away with a face that said I chose it. Page-turners should not exist on school grounds, but once a shop learns how to hide in a fold of campus, it is hard to convince it to leave. The bell above the door is a small, anxious sound that rings as if hoping no one will notice. The air lives on lavender polish and old glue. Floorboards protest in the language of knees. Shelves lean toward one another as if gossip has weight. Scraps slips through behind me, her stitches almost elegant in the bookish light. She is good at being furniture when people look, and even better at being a rumour when they do not. I run my fingertips along spines that have learned patience, children's rhymes, botany, tax records, a slim volume of sermons that attempt gentleness and land on exhaustion. Between a handbook on lamplight maintenance and an atlas of lost coastlines, I find a cloth book with a faded lamb on the cover. Nursery rhymes, the kind that pretend to rock babies and instead measure harm. The photograph sits inside like a secret that became bored, black and white, curled at the corners. A small girl stands in front of a stone house, her chin tipped up, her hair a dark sheet that refuses to behave. The house behind her lives behind our boundary wall, a stubborn thing with a slate roof and a cracked lintel that looks like a broken grin. The girl's eyes are mine, only unpracticed. I do not own such a picture. My breath chooses to be careful without asking me first. Scraps reaches up and taps the lower edge of the photo with 2 stitched fingers, as if testing for rot. Her button gaze moves from the girl's face to mine and back again. She makes a quiet sound that is not quite a cough, not quite a laugh. It is the sound cloth makes when it learns the word coincidence and decides it dislikes it. I turn the photo over. The back is blank except for the impression of letters, as if a pen leaned there while writing something else. I angle it toward the window until the ghost of a word resolves. Withdrawn. Not a name, a verdict. The shopkeeper clears his throat in the way of men who practice authority on furniture. His beard seems to be working from memory. Find something you like, he asks, which is a sales technique and a prayer. Possibly, I say. I enjoy unreliable things. He nods, which is worrying. In the next aisle, a customer speaks softly. I do not look. Voices travel differently when they want to be overheard. I let them. After dusk, the customer says. Paper rustles. They said no one should be near the old wing after dusk. The shopkeeper mutters. Board instructions, pending assessment. Best to keep your head down. Best to let the building forget you. Can a building forget? The customer asks. It can, he says. It can also pretend it did. I slide the photograph back into the cloth book because I am polite to props. When I return the book to the shelf, it is already gone and the space smells like something that used to be alive. Outside, the sky gives up on being kind. Wind stumbles around the corners of buildings, drunk on its own errands. Scraps tugs my sleeve twice and points toward the boundary wall. Behind the ivy and the righteous iron lattice, the stone house watches with its cracked grin. I do not wave. There is no point encouraging architecture. By breakfast, the rumour has learned its route. A student did not come back to her bed. Some swear they saw her in the science wing after last bell. Others have already forgotten her name, but remember her shoes. Juniper sits across from me, clutching a mug that can only be called cocoa if one is generous with definitions. Her hair ribbons do not match on purpose. She has sketched a dress on the napkin and keeps shading the hem darker. "People are saying she left a note," Juniper whispers, although whispers are only for practice in a room this loud. "What did it say?" I ask. "That she was going to the West Wing," Juniper says, and then shakes her head at herself. "No, that is not true. I just said it, and now it is halfway true. Never mind." "Truth is cheap," I say. "All it takes is repetition." In history, the teacher drones about early endowments and the donation of land by people who knew how to be generous with other people's boundaries. I watch the corkboard instead. Between faculty announcements and a map of the fire exit paths, a flyer advertises a club that has never existed. The ink twitches and decides it would rather be a timetable. I blink slowly until my eyes get bored and the paper goes still. When the bell releases us, the corridor tastes like chalk and impatience. The walk behind the greenhouse is where the air develops ideas. Glass fogs from within, even on days without breath. Vines make promises on the stone. The gargoyles on the garden wall practice looking ordinary and fail. A thin thread of piano music slips out of the music rooms and tries to pretend it is the wind. Scraps pauses at the greenhouse door and presses her stitched ear to the wood. She hears things. I hear the way she stiffens. We step inside. The greenhouse swallows noise and gives back, wet. Night blooms doze open in their pots, their pale throats holding on to whatever the dark told them. A watering can sits under the tap, still dripping as if time forgot to close it. Someone has scratched words into the condensation on one pane with a fingertip. The letters run as the water reforms, and still the message holds. Grace is not yours. Juniper's reflection appears behind mine like a second thought. She hugs herself and fogs the glass on purpose so she can draw a heart in it. It holds for one beat and then slides down the pane like a failed rescue. "We should not be here," she says. "We are almost never where we should be," I say. "It saves walking." The sound comes on the back of the pipes again, not a song. A rehearsal for one, a thread pulled tight enough to hum, the way a violin string thrums when someone touches the bow lightly to it and then changes their mind. It moves along the metal gently, testing the roots. In the next breath, the sound sharpens and stands up, a wail the size of a needle. It does not fill the room. It fills the hollow behind your sternum. Juniper flinches hard enough to rattle the watering can. Scraps goes still as stone except for one thumb, which rubs a circle into her palm the way people do when they are reminding themselves how to be a body. The wail cuts off like a sentence that does not trust itself to be finished. I step between the tables of carnivorous things that pretend innocence with shy lids. On the workbench, someone has left a coil of thread, pale hair. It tangles in the light as if trying to catch it. I put it in my pocket, not because I want it, but because leaving it behind would mean someone else gets to decide what it becomes. We leave the greenhouse because it lets us. Outside, the wind has chosen a new direction and is feeling brave about it. I cut behind the chapel, along the path where the granite cobbles are kept honest by moss. The bell in the tower gives one uncertain cough and then remembers itself. 13 counts at noon earlier this week. Today it does not show off. Near the boundary wall, the stone house waits. Up close, it is smaller and angrier. The slate roof sheds flakes like a lizard losing interest in its skin. The lintel's crack smiles wider in the colder air. I circle the front to give it the attention it craves and then take the narrow track that runs along its side to the trees. Landon stands there where the path forgets itself. He looks like he has been waiting and also like he hopes no one saw him waiting. He does not belong to the woods, and they are tired of pretending he does. His eyes carry the grey of a sky that once tried to be blue and failed. "This place is borrowed," he says. His voice lands gently in the leaves. "Borrowed implies a return," I say. "Do we intend one?" He looks past me toward the house, then toward the school, then toward his shoes. It is a useful triangulation when one has decided not to answer. "There are things here that cannot be held," he says. "They prefer to be arranged." "Arranged into what?" I ask. He takes a breath and abandons it. "Into the shape that proves someone was right about being wronged." "Every ghost is a lawyer," I say. He almost smiles. It fails politely. I reach out and touch the notch of bone at his collar. His eyes close. Not because he was hoping, because he remembers when hope worked and does not trust it now. "Do not come here after lights," he says, and the way he says it is not a rule. It is a debt. "I do not come here," I say. "I arrive." There is a difference. Footsteps on gravel end the conversation for us. Juniper rounds the corner at a speed that suggests she left a thought unfinished somewhere and intends to retrieve it. She sees Landon and her worry rearranges itself into curiosity in less than a heartbeat. She opens her mouth to say something kind and instead says nothing useful at all. "I was looking for you," she tells me, which might be true. "Found me," I say. "Also," she adds, "they are checking beds." She pinches the bridge of her nose like someone much older than she is. "They are pretending to be subtle about it." Landon steps back without turning his back on us. It is a skilled retreat. The woods open a space and then close it as if they were never generous. We walk back the long way. Juniper fills the air with words to keep it from filling us with anything else. Scraps holds my hand for 20 steps and then lets go because she does not want me reliant. Students pour out of the main hall at the bell. The noise is large and harmless on purpose. 2 girls lean together near the stairs and whisper about the missing student. One says, "Her pillow was cold," as if pillows have allegiances. The other says, "She left her shoes," and then looks down at her own. In the corridor outside the headmistress's office, a notice has been pinned neatly. "Archive assessment in progress." It means nothing and everything. I stand and watch the way the paper breathes when the steam pipes kick. Juniper nudges my shoulder. "You have that face," she says, "the one that counts how many doors are lying." Dinner is a rehearsal for civility. I perform badly on purpose. After, I go to my room and lay out the day's inventory. The coil of hair thread, a rubbing I took from the condensation words on the greenhouse glass, just in case it forgets what it said. The shape of the stone house folded into the back of my skull. And the photograph. I did not return it to the cloth book. Of course I did not. I am careful and not generous. Except the photograph is gone. My drawer holds a button and a thread, and an absence so clean it gleams. Scrap stands on the chair and peers in, as if the picture might have found a trap door. She makes a small, irritated sound and looks at me as if I have misplaced her hand, and she will need it later. I search where searching is a performance for rage. Under the teacup, between the mattress and the frame, in the sleeve of a sweater that remembers another person's shoulders. Nowhere. The room is neat in the way rooms are neat when someone has touched everything in order not to be seen touching anything. I sit, I write. Ink dries faster when you do not breathe. I make a list of borrowings, books checked out by the same names, names that fade from the log without ceremony, notes in the margins that correct dates and assign meaning like a bored god. I write the word withdrawn slowly until the shape of it begins to look like a door. Outside, the fog rolls in with the entitlement of an aunt who used to be pretty. The bell tower does not name the hour. It thinks better of it. Somewhere in the throat of the school, a pipe clears itself and then decides against singing. When the sound does come, it rides the metal in a line so thin I could thread a needle with it. It is not loud. It is certain. I open the window because it is good to let the outside inside before it learns to break in. A raven lands on the sill with the self-respect of a professional. It drops a folded paper into my palm and does not wait to be thanked. This is how you know it has manners. The paper is crisp, cut from a registrar's card. There is a pinprick of red in the corner as if someone wanted to prove the card had a pulse. Inside, one sentence waits in the small patient hand. If you want the picture, turn on the lights. Juniper stirs on the hall couch, throws an arm over her face and returns to her unsatisfactory dreams. Scraps climbs onto my desk and tilts her head to read the message upside down. She folds the card back into a bird and tucks it under her arm with theatrical dignity. I look at the paper, I look at the lamp, I look at everything that wants to be seen and everything that wants to be remembered, and the small uncoloured gap where the two overlap. Then I write one more line in the diary and close it. If anyone asks tomorrow, I will say the library is under assessment. If anyone asks tomorrow, I will say the photograph must have been a mistake. If anyone asks tomorrow, I will say the lights were off. Tonight they will be on. You have been listening to Tuesday Gray's diary. If this is the first page you found, begin with Chapter 1. Secrets prefer sequence, and Hollowshade charges a fee to those who read out of order. Return next Tuesday. The photograph will not wait politely a second time.